Okay, I just randomly started reading Esther again this morning, and literally queen, if I can say so myself. Let's just talk about her for a second.
So basically, if you haven't read the story of Esther before, it's about this girl who was brought before the king as one of the girls, like, as an option for becoming queen, because he banished his previous queen because she didn't obey him. Anyways, so Esther is running for queen. I don't even think this was, like, her goal in life. It's definitely not. She was just there, and she was very, impressive and very beautiful, but she's Jewish, and people don't know. People don't know she's Jewish. But anyways, the king was especially pleased by her. He really liked her, and so she became queen, okay? And then there's this guy named Haman who was promoted in charge of all the other nobles for some reason. I don't even know why, because he sucks. Anyways, so he was promoted, and then he saw that Esther's uncle, Mordecai, who adopted her, wasn't bowing down to Haman. He wasn't worshiping Haman, because Mordecai serves the one true Lord, and, like, he's not going to bow down to Haman. He doesn't deserve it. Anyways, so Haman was mad at Mordecai, and he wanted to kill him, but not just kill him, kill his whole nationality. He wanted to kill Jews. Haman is giving Hitler, if I can say so myself. He casted lots that were called Purim, and determined to kill all Jews on the next year, March 7th. And so this was really, really bad. It was just horrible. And then Mordecai asked Esther if she could ask the king to stop this from happening, because the king originally signed off to whatever Haman was saying. Like, I don't think the king really cared that much. Also, Haman was saying that he will give 10,000 large sacks of silver to the government administrators to be deposited after the deed is done. So I'm sure, like, money was just like, oh, great, I'm gonna get more money, and I don't really care if people die, you know what I mean? Anyways, I don't think he didn't really understand what was going on. He was just like, do whatever. Like, if you think it's best, then go for it. Anyways, so Mordecai requests for Esther's help. And then she said back, all the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter, and the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. That's rough. And you can die if you go in there without being asked. And Mordecai said to Esther, don't think for a moment that because you're in a palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. And I love this part. This line is like the popular line, but it's so good. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this. Such a time as this. And then Esther was like, okay, go and gather all the Jews, fast for me, do not eat for 3 days, I won't either. And then, although it's against the law, I will go in and see the king. If I must die, I must die. Literally queen, like, literally slay. I was writing in my journal while reading this, and I was like, if Esther can, like, risk being killed for saving her people and doing what is right and, like, what God wants, and just, like, having that courage, we can tell people about Jesus. We can face our fears. If Esther can do it, we can do it too. Anyways, she said, I must die, I must die. So she faced her fear, and she went and did it. And the king gave out his gold scepter. He honored her. They went to the banquets, and eventually she told him about Haman's plan. I love the part where she exposes Haman. And then the king was frustrated and walked out of the room, and Haman was begging for his life, and he fell on the couch that she was reclining. And then the king came back in, and he was like, will he even assault the queen right here in the palace before my very eyes? And then Haman was brought away and impaled on a pole that he meant to impale Mordecai on. Quite satisfying, if you say so myself. Anyways, so a decree to help the Jews. So since the king's decrees cannot be reversed, they set out a new decree where the Jews can fight for themselves and basically kill anybody who tries to attack them on that day, March 7th. And so the Jews won. They grew very powerful. People started going on their side because they were scared. Because the Jews now have that power and they have that help. So on March 7th, the 2 decrees were put into effect and the Jews won. And then later on, after the whole battle, they celebrated, feasted, festival, celebrating their victory with a day of feasting and gladness. And later on, they called this day Purim. I think it's pronounced Purim, not Purim. Purim. Correct me if I'm wrong, people who know. They called it Purim because the lots were called Purim. And yeah, so they won. Yes. But yeah, I was just it was just the story that I turned to, and I was like, I like this story. I'm going to read it again, and why not make a video to talk about it too? Oh, that is a very long video. Okay, well, yeah.